Yeah, we started the recording. Now we have done bone setup for the bird character. This is a detailed bone setup. I'll explain you how can we do this. Let's say for these feathers, okay, I can select this, only this part, it can rotate or it can go like this, okay. And for example, even these things, it can even bend, let's say like this, it can be even closer, okay. So if you observe these feathers and all, so I have given individual control for this part. For example, this should have individual control, this feather should have individual control, so like that I have given, so that once the rig is done, the character will be a lot more flexible for animator to animate this character, this bird, okay. So now
Yes.
let us segregate, means let us do a separation of the tail part here, separation in the sense, let's concentrate only the tail part, um, and do the um, controllers, create the controllers for this, okay. And what sort of separation we require, so I'm selecting this, and I'm selecting hierarchy, and when I do this, okay, not this. While selecting, I need to select this individually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, like this. So now what happens? You get this movement. Okay. And this movement. Along with this, feathers, once in the tail feathers, it will have this kind of movements also. Along with this, if you select hierarchy for this, it will have this movement as well. Okay. For example, like this, or closer movement, okay. So for this, let's add controller. So controller part, let me take a circle first. Okay, I'm selecting the circle. Okay, first thing, let me create a circle here. That's a global curve. Let us assume this as a global curve, and I'm duplicating this, I'm making it quite smaller here. Okay, so what I do here is control vertex inside, outside, outside, like this. Something like this, I just made it. Okay, so I'll snap this to this curve. Okay, and I duplicate this, and I'm snapping this to, okay, let me select this, modify center pivot first. Okay, then let me snap this to this curve, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm snapping to this, then I'm selecting both, then place it a bit down. Okay, so I can scale a bit. I think this is okay. So then I'm selecting this, I'm going to duplicate this, smaller. Hmm, you need to analyze, where the controllers has to come. Okay, and by looking at the character, you should decide, okay, my the character tail is like this, tail feathers are over here, and on 3 joints, tail feathers are spreaded. Okay, so considering this, you have to create uh, controller. I'm just selecting this uncontroller over here. Let me make this thing a bit smaller. Um, so it should match the character design also, the controller. So one is here, and I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm duplicating this, hold X. What I'll do is I'll just turn off this first. Okay, you need to snap to point, it's V. Select this, Control D, V, snap to point, Control D, V, snap to point, Control D, V, snap to point, and Control D, V, snap to point. I just turn on the character. Let me see how the controllers are. Okay. I make this quite bigger, this little bit. Okay, we got curves like this. Similarly, I need a controller here also. I'm duplicating this. I'm placing it here. I'm making this smaller. So I would like to paste, like snap to point here at this particular point. Okay. You can see for this particular joint, I have, added. And this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, the curves are a little bit. Okay, the curves are bit. So observe here, for this particular joint, I have added one curve, and I duplicate this, press V, snap to point over here. Okay, now I select this, and I'm duplicating this, V, snap to point. Okay, I think that's enough, and V, snap to point. I just turn on this character, means layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm selecting these curves which we have created. This has to be on upside, and I'm going to rotate a bit like this. So I'm selecting this and this, place it upside, and I'm going to rotate it like this. Okay. So it shows like this for these joints. Okay. Now, similarly, and I'm selecting this V, snap to point, and I duplicate this V, snap to point, and I'm duplicating this V, snap to point, duplicate V, hold V, snap to point. Again, I duplicate this V, snap to point, duplicate this V, snap to point, and I duplicate this V, hold V, snap to point, Control D, again, hold V, snap to point. So I think we have done it up to here. So what I'll do is I'm going to select this. This should be placed a little bit up. And I'm selecting these curves. This should be placed a bit up like this. Okay. Similarly, select these controllers, lift this up. So it should be, visible, okay, for animator. So like that, you have to place the controllers. Yeah. Here we have. And this one. Okay. Okay, you can see the curves. The placement of the curves, it's fine here. Okay. Okay. So after this, I'm selecting this. I'm going to duplicate this. V snap to point. So I'm going to rotate this. And this is cog. I want the cog to be quite bigger. Okay, like this. And I'm going to duplicate this for this spine, a little bit smaller. And I duplicate again for this joint. And I duplicate again for this joint. So what I do, I select this, this, and this. Little rotation I'm going to give like this. And this one, let me rotate like this. And this is quite smaller. Anyhow, you have to define how do you want. So this curve, it's here like this, and this is for neck controller. And I'm adding one more curve here like this. Okay, let's do one thing. I'm placing this here. Go to control vertex. As per the beak, I'm doing the changes. Modify center. Like this. So then coming to the wing part, okay, I'll just show you till now what I've done. I turn off joints. See the curves, how many controllers we have added. Like this much we have added now. So I just turn on this, show joints. Next for the wings we have to do. Uh, the key wing controller is this joint. Why? Because this is the one which will flap. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm gonna select this. I'm duplicating this. $90 and $90. We snap to point. and I duplicate this, we snap to point. There are two curves here, and one curve is disturbing, that is this one. Okay, then later what I do, I duplicate this, we here, these are smaller. I duplicate this one here, I duplicate this one here. Okay. Similarly, let's do it on the other side. I'm duplicating this here, select this, duplicate, and here I'm duplicating this here. Okay, so we got curves here as well. Then later, smaller curves we should have, or another method is that, for example, I'm creating one sphere. Okay, and I reduce this axis and height. Okay, I make this thing quite smaller so that I can place this somewhere here, joints like this. Okay, so what I do is I place it here on top. I make this thing smaller. Here I create one more layer. Observe carefully, one more layer. In this layer, this object is already there. I would like to name this as wing controller. I save this, and I can even change some options here, like so here what I'll do, I can change the color index, none is there. Okay. I change this to red, save, so that this is the object which I placed here, and select this, right click, go to attributes. Here what I want is, I don't want this to be seen, so I turn off shading. So what color I have given, that color is visible. I don't want this to be visible in rendering, that is shading. Okay, so that's okay. Can select this like this. Okay, I can lock all the translate, I can keep only rotation, that we'll do later. Okay, I'm selecting this. Then, so basically what I want to do is, wherever this wing joints are, then I want this to be there. So I duplicate this, we snap to point, I select this, we snap to point for time being now. I duplicate this, snap to point, I duplicate this, snap to point, duplicate, snap to point, I duplicate, we snap to point, I duplicate this, again, snap to point. Repeat this for first and the second joints, not the third joint. Understood what I'm doing? I'm adding controllers for the joints where I'm going to animate those joints. Any doubts?
No.
So for here, I have added these many controllers. Connection I have to give, but just wherever joint is there, there I'm adding controllers. So I duplicate this here, duplicate this here, duplicate this part, duplicate. Okay, I think placement is done. So what I'll do is now turn off. Okay, I can do a simple way. Select this layer, right click, select objects. When I do all these objects which is in the layer, it will be selected. So you got it right, how I added in this object in the how I added this sphere into this particular layer. Just for the first sphere I have added in the layer, then I started duplicating. So what happens, all the objects which is in the layer, when I duplicate, it will be in this layer only. Okay,
Yeah.
so this one I'm gonna lift a bit like this. Okay. Okay, then I should have eye controller also. I create a circle. Over here. I'm gonna rotate this like this. 90. So I place here one. Okay, then I'm gonna duplicate this in x-axis minus value. So I got it one here. So now almost, we completed the controllers. We have to add a polar to the leg part. So what I do is control vertex. Select this, modify center. V snap to point, and I duplicate snap to this point. Shift select both the controller, place it here in the back side. Okay, it's almost done. So I turn off the board, I turn off the joints. So these are the controllers which we have. First thing, select all this controller globally, modify, freeze transform, modify center pivot, edit, delete by type, history. So without fail, you have to do this. Okay, we have to modify FT. Then naming, start naming this. This is what, that's a global controller. Global controller. This is leg controller. That means left leg controller. This is right leg controller. So these are main tail controller. I'm selecting this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So here, so I have added tail controller. This is cog. Okay. So cog is done. Spine 1, spine 2, and spine 3. So spine controller. This is neck controller. This is left eye. Left eye control. This is right eye control. Okay. Let us assume these are left A, left B, left C. Okay. So I select this and this. Tail wings, LT. Tail wings A. I select this. Okay. Select this and this. B. I select this and this. C. Okay. Similarly, I select this and this. Instead of LT, make it RT. And copying this. A. Select this and this. B. This and this. C. So tail part naming is done. The body part naming is done. This is jaw. You can name it as jaw controller or beak. Beak open close. Okay. So this is left wing A. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. LT main wing A. So I'm just selecting this. Or else manually let's name this as A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Let us, that's what we need to break this. This joint chain is 1. Wing 1, wing 2, wing 3. In wing 1, A, B, C, like that you can consider. Okay, let's say. Okay, I should not select joint, so I just turn on this. Select this and this. Left wing A1. Not A1. Or else let's say A1, A2. Manually do A3, A4. Again, this also A5, A6. Now B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6. Next, this is C1, C1, C2, C3, C4. Okay, naming is done. Similarly, do the naming on the other side. Then comes for next is constraint. So will you complete up to here? Shall I do constraint in the next session or shall I do it now only? Hello? Shall we do the constraints now? Or will you be completing this up to here?
And we try to complete this part.
Yeah, see, this is a little bit complicated. More controllers are there, that's it, nothing else. And we should be careful, like where and more controllers should come. Apart from that, it's the same logic. Okay. Anyhow, we are applying here. try to complete this joint setup and the controllers, okay, based on this. In the next session, we'll add IK handle for the leg and we'll complete the constraint part for the entire character, okay. So once we complete this bird rig, we'll be moving to animation. So for you guys, animation is pending. After animation, you will be learning a lot of dynamics, visual effects in Maya, okay.
Yes, sir.
Post that, you will be learning augmented reality and projection mapping, okay.
Yes.
So let's see. Continue this, this particular work and complete this. And meantime, if you need some time to practice or to work on the assignments, you have to let me know. I'll give some days gap so that you can work on assignments. Okay. So internally, you guys discuss, you 4 or 5 people, and let me know regarding that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So is the speed is fine? The way I'm explaining things, is that fine, or you want me to go slow? Or if this is
No, it's fine, sir.
okay, thanks. Okay, then I'll upload this.
No, the
Yeah.
speed is fine, sir.
Okay,
We might only need time.
okay, Jabulo. Okay. Okay, I'll upload this video and I'll send this. Okay, I'll share the link. Bye. Have a good day.
Okay, sir. Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you.